Hello everyone, this is Akanksha Singh and I'm going to cover entire series of lectures of network security and cryptography. This subject runs in final year and the subject is going to contain 4 modules. Uh, the first module is going to have a lot of variety of informations about security attacks, diffusion, confusion, string cipher, block cipher, encryption techniques, substitution techniques, transposition techniques, and fee structure. The entire module 1 is going to be covered in 7 to 8 videos. And please stay tuned to all the videos to understand the concept of entire first module. Today we're going to cover lecture 1. This lecture is going to comprise of content as security attacks. And there are 2 types of security attacks that we're going to discuss very soon, which is active attack and passive attacks. We're also going to discuss about security services. So let's begin with what security attacks are. When I call attack in literal meaning is attacking somebody, is destroying somebody with their personal things, right? In materialistic world. When we talk about security attack in IT world, now in IT world, it means threat to somebody's personal data or somebody's personal information, right? So any activity or any action that compromises the security information or the personal information that is owned by another organization is called as security attack or called as security threats. So now, if you get to know somebody's personal information, or even if you destroy that personal information, that is called as attack or security attack, right? So security attacks are basically classified as passive attacks and active attacks. So let's discuss each of them one by one. Passive attacks. Now, what are passive attacks? Now, passive attack, as the name says, they are passive in nature. That is, they do not destroy, they do not destroy anything in the information or in the data. They do not alter anything, they do not modify the data. It's just that uh, passive attacks are attacks that try to gain information or try to learn about somebody's secret information, right? It's like I somehow do certain things to know your password, but I do not want to change your password, right? That is called as passive attack. Passive attacks are attacks that make an attempt to learn or make use of information, but does not affect the system resources. Now, this is very important. They do not affect system resources, right? So basically, you can say that passive attacks are in nature of eavesdropping, right? You try to monitor what kind of things are being sent, what kind of data is being sent. That is called as passive attack. Now, one more thing that you would get to know about passive attacks from their nature is it is difficult to detect passive attacks since they do not modify anything, they do not change anything in the personal information. They are very tough to be detected. So the goal of opponent is to obtain the information in case of passive attacks, and the types of passive attacks are as follows: release of message content and traffic analysis. These are 2 types of passive attacks. Now, the release of message content. Any telephonic conversation or an electronic mail message, uh, or you can say a transferred file, may contain sensitive information, may contain information which is very confidential to one's organization. And if somehow that confidential information or that sensitive information goes in hands of third party, or a third party gets to read that sensitive information, then such type of attack is called as release of message content. For example, if I and you were supposed to share some data which is uh, very sensitive to both of us, and somehow the third party, which is not supposed to know that information, gets to know that information, that is called as release of message content. There's an example, there's a diagram given here. Through a diagram also you can understand. See, there are three people, Lily, John, and Bob. Now, Lily and John are in conversation over internet. Lily and John are in conversation over internet. Maybe they are sharing some data, and somehow the data that is being shared is read by Bob. Bob gets to read the content of message which is being sent between Lily and John. Then this is called as release of message content to the third party, and here the third party is Bob. And the people who were authorized to uh, do communication or share information were Lily and John. Okay, so this is something that you can also show by diagram. Moving ahead to the second topic, which is traffic analysis. Now, traffic analysis uh, means you are analyzing the traffic, the data that is being traveled on network. That is called as traffic analysis. Now, suppose that we had a way of even hiding data. You know, you can hide data. All of us know that we can hide our data by encrypting our data, right? So even if you have a way of masking the content of message or other information, uh, even then somebody can analyze the traffic, right? If you have packed your data and then you are sending your data on network, even then somebody can analyze that packed data. What is the frequency of data that is traveling between the two parties, or probably what is the size of the data, packed data. Even if you do not get to know what is there inside the data, you can still observe that two parties are how often communicating, from where the message is being originated, from where the message is being originated and going till what destination, and what is the length of the data, what is the frequency of the data that is being traveled, even if you do not know what is there inside the data, right? So that is called as traffic analysis. You sit on the network and analyze what kind of network, what kind of data, or what frequency of data is being traveled between two people. That is called as traffic analysis. The opponent could determine the location, the identity of communicating host, could observe the frequency and the length of the message that is being exchanged. This information, these informations are very useful. Some of us might be thinking that what kind of use these content would be of. See, even if you come to know that who's communicating, right? Two parties of communication, what two parties are being involved in communication. At times, even that is very useful. And at what frequency two people are talking, at times, even this information is very useful. So, traffic analysis is all about analyzing what kind of traffic is being traveled on the network. Moving ahead to the second type, what are active attacks? Now, active attacks are involved in some modification of data stream. Like we were discussing about passive attacks, as the word said passive, there was no modification of data. But when we talk about active attacks do involve some modification of data stream, and they also at times create false streams. Um, these can be further subdivided. Now, we can also subdivide active attacks as masquerading, replay attacks, modification of message, and denial of service. We'll be seeing each of them one by one. Let's start by what is masquerading. Now, masquerading, if I tell you what masquerading means in literature, masquerading means to impersonate. That means I try to be somebody else. I am Akansha Singh and I try to be somebody else. That is called as masquerading. So, masquerading in terms of active attacks. So, masquerading takes place when one entity pretends to be a different entity. For example, authentication sequences can be captured, and these sequences that are captured can be replayed after a valid authentication has taken place. For example, if you can recall, a lot of times we get a fake call from bank, and that fake call says that I am so and so from bank, and I want your information Maybe I want your card number, or I want your PIN number since your card is being expired, and so and so. A lot of fake calls come from bank. Now, what are what are those people doing? Those people are actually trying to impersonate whom? Impersonate people from bank, right? So they will impersonate to be the authorized ones from bank, and then they would try to get information from us. And if they try to get information, and if they somehow get to know the information, they'll capture the information, and then afterwards that captured information will be used for wrongdoings, right? So that is called as masquerading, and the best example for masquerading in today's world, right? So moving ahead to the next attack, which is replay attack. Now, replay attacks basically involve in capturing of data. They capture data at a time, and then afterwards there is a subsequent transmission of that data to produce an unauthorized effect. Now, for suppose, since all of you are in final year, and I give you an example of maybe you got selected in a company, and you were supposed to receive your joining letter, right? And somebody captured that joining letter in mid before it reaches you, right? Now, what it would do is it might capture the data for some time, might delay might delay that information reaches you within time, right? Since the joining time is maybe for tomorrow, and the data reaches to you day after tomorrow. Now, when the data reaches day after tomorrow, that data which had the date, which had the meaning on the particular date that has passed, will be of no use, right? So that is called as replay attack. Replay attack is actually capturing of data, and then subsequent retransmission is done to produce an unauthorized effect. At a lot of times, capture data is also changed and then sent. But when the data is being changed and then sent, that would come under modification of message. So coming to the third one, which is modification of message. Now, modification of the message, as the name suggests, is modifying of a message. Maybe the mail that you were supposed to receive had the original date of joining in the organization as 10th of maybe 15th of October, and then somebody changed that date to 10th of October, or 25th of October. Now, when you reach on the 25th October, that organization says, sorry, you're late. Again, that is a big loss to you. That is called as modification of message. It means that some portion of a message is altered, or a message is delayed, or can be reordered just to produce an unauthorized effect. Here, I have also discussed about an example that says, allow John to read confidential file X. Now, if somebody modifies that to say allow Smith to read confidential file X. Now, there's a huge difference, right, between giving the access to whom, John or Smith. Somebody changed that John, that authorized person to unauthorized person as Smith. That is called modification of message. Moving ahead to the last active attack, which is denial of service attack. Now, denial of service attack basically inhibits the normal use of a structure, of a facility, or prevents some normal use or management of a communication facility. This attack may have specific targets. For example, an entity may be targeted by suppressing all the messages directed to that person, that particular destination. Another form of denial is disruption of entire network, either by sending so much data on the network that network gets overloaded. That is called as denial of service attack. So in simple terms, if I was somehow knowing that you're going to receive your joining letter within 2 days or 3 days, and I, I overwhelm your inbox with so many messages that you do not receive the original message, that the message uh, con- uh, that was supposed to reach to you, because that that your inbox was full to receive that message. So that is called as a denial of service attack. I somehow try to disrupt the original functioning of the machine, right? That is called as denial of service, or I try to degrade the performance of the machine. So active attacks and passive attacks are completely over. Once again, I would like to discuss that passive attacks are very difficult to detect because they do not involve any alteration. However, it is feasible to prevent the success of these attacks, usually by means of encryption. Talking about active attacks, they are very easily detected, and you can easily detect them and resolve them. That is called as active attack. So moving ahead to the next topic, which is security services. Now, security services, according to X-Point 800, a security service is an adequate security of the system or of the data transfer. That is called a security service. Now, X-Point 800 divides the services into 5 categories and 14 specific services, and they are as follows. So, for 5 categories of security services are as follows: authentication, access control, data confidentiality, data integrity, and non-repudiation. So, we'll be discussing each of these 5 categories in brief, and these 5 categories will also have certain specific services, and each of these specific services will also be discussed in brief. So, let's start by authentication. Now, authentication means the assurance that the communicating entity is the one that it claims to be, right? When I say I am the authenticated person, I mean to say that whatever I'm saying, that I'm Akanksha Singh, I am the person that I'm claiming to be. That is called authentication, right? And generally, in terms of computer, authentication is ensured by having a password, login ID and password. That is called authentication at times in terms of system authentication. When you talk about desktop authentication, a lot of times you give user ID and password just to be ensuring that who is the authenticated person who is supposed to use that system, right? So that is called as authentication. Now, authentication can be further divided into 2 specific services defined in X.800. So X.800 is a standard protocol that divides security services in under 5 categories, and also divides each of these categories into specific services also. So the first specific service under authentication is peer entity authentication. Peer entity authentication. So, peer entity authentication provides authentication of the identity, right, um, of the person who's in communication. Always understand that we authenticate people who are in the communication. We also authenticate data that is in traveling mode. So peer entity authentication authenticates the peers that are involved in the communication. Both the sender and the receiver are authenticated in peer entity authentication. Moving to the second specific service, which is data origin authentication. Now, data origin authentication provides authentication of the origination of the data, right? The data from which, from the source that it has been originated, that particular source is authenticated. That is called as data origin authentication. Provides authentication of the source of a data unit. It does not provide protection against the duplication or modification. That you have to remember. It does not protect you from any duplication or modification. Moving ahead to the second security service, uh, which is access control. Now, this service controls of who can access to resources, under what condition that resource can be accessed, and what are those accessing resources that are allowed uh, to do what, right? So it's like access control is like controlling the access to who is supposed to access the data, and to what extent that data is supposed to be accessed, and who are those people who are allowed to access that data. That is called as access control. So basically, prevention of unauthorized use of resource is done under access control. And there are no, one more thing that I would like to tell you is there are no specific services under access control. Moving ahead to data confidentiality. Now, data confidentiality, as the term confidentiality means, is the protection of transmitted data from passive attacks. Now, data confidentiality is further divided into specific security services, which are connection confidentiality, connection-less confidentiality, selective field confidentiality, and traffic flow confidentiality. Now, this connection and connectionless, these two words, connection and connectionless and selective field. Now, they are no different from what you have studied from in the computer network. I hope you have studied the subject computer network, and in computer network we have studied what do you mean by connection and connectionless network. When we talk about connection oriented network, connection oriented network means before sending a packet, we first establish a network and then send a network. And connectionless network is the kind of network wherein you do not decide which path the packet will itself find its best route and travel to the destination. That is called connectionless confidentiality. And talking about selective field, selective fields will be selected for the purpose, right? So moving ahead to connection confidentiality, the first one, the connection confidentiality is the protection of all the user data that is there on the connection oriented network. That is called as connection oriented confidentiality. Connection less confidentiality is the one that will provide protection to all the user data that is there in the connection less oriented environment, and that is called as single data block, right? So moving to the third one is selective field confidentiality. Now here the selected fields are chosen. At times you know that the entire message is not supposed to be confidential. We just want a part of a message to be confidential. So all of us know that message does not travel at a whole in the network. They're first divided into packets and then they are traveled, right? So the maybe the packet number 2 or the packet number 3 of the entire message has the confidential content. So that is called as selective field confidentiality. When we want to provide confidentiality to only the third packet of the entire message, that is called selective field confidentiality. So confidentiality of selected fields within the user data on the connection or in a single data block, that is called as selective field confidentiality. Now, the fourth one is the traffic flow confidentiality. Now, the protection of information that might be derived from the observation of traffic flow. That is called as traffic flow confidentiality. We try to protect the information that is being observed from the traffic flow. We try to frustrate people. How can you frustrate a traffic analyzer? You can frustrate a traffic analyzer by padding unnecessary bits between the two packets. So if you pad more bits between the two packets, you cannot let the traffic analyzer know what is the frequency of the data that is being traveled, or what is the original length of the data that is being traveled. So in this way, you can protect the information that is being observed from the traffic flow. Moving to the next security service, which is data integrity. Now, what do you mean by integrity? When you send the data, and that data is exactly received by the receiver. That is, if I have created a certain data and the receiver receives the exact same data that I have created, that is called as integrity assurance. So the assurance that the data received is exactly as sent by the authorized entity is called as integrity, right? So there are specific services in data integrity which are as follows: connection integrity with recovery, connection integrity without recovery. Now, the difference here is with recovery and without recovery. We also have selective field connection integrity and connection-less integrity. Okay, so let's discuss each of them in brief. Now, connection integrity with recovery provides for integrity of all users of data on a connection, and detects any modification, even that is insertion, deletion, or replay of the data within an entire data sequence with the recovery attempt. Now, that is very important, that it tries to always have a recovery attempt. So connection integrity is providing integrity of all data, and along with the recovery of the data. So the second one is the connection integrity without recovery. It is same as the above, but do not provide recovery mechanisms. We have studied a lot of recovery mechanisms in computer network subject, right? Frame check sequence. Can you recall? I hope you can recall. So moving ahead to selective field connection integrity. Now, selective field connection integrity provides for integrity of selected fields within the user data block, transferred over connection determination, whether the selected fields have been modified or not. Moving ahead to the fourth specific service under data integrity, which is connection-less integrity. Now, connection-less integrity provides for integrity of single connection-less data block, and may provide detection of the data modification protocol, or may not provide, right? So, since we have not mentioned whether it has a recovery mechanism or not, so that is optional. Moving ahead to the last security service, which is non-repudiation. Now, non-repudiation protects protects denial of any entity that it is being involved in communication. For example, if I try to communicate with you, or I have communicated with you earlier, and I denied that I have communicated with you, right? For suppose I had sent you certain data X I have already sent you, and for later on I deny that I have sent you data X. That is called as non-repudiation, where certain people deny to having been involved into communication. So even that non-repudiation is of two types: non-repudiation of origin and non-repudiation of destination. So non-repudiation of origin means proof that the message was sent by the specific party. So non-repudiation means that you try to give a proof that yes, the message was always sent by the specific party. And when we talk about non-repudiation of the destination, it means that the proof that the message was received by the specific party. So non-repudiation always means that we are trying to prove that the two parties have been involved into communication. And when we say repudiation, it is the reverse of non-repudiation. That is, we are saying that the two parties were not involved in communication. So non-repudiation is an action of protecting people from denying that they have communicated. So that is called as non-repudiation. So class, we have studied overall 5 security services, which were authentication, access control, data confidentiality, data integrity and non-repudiation. Authentication means that we are assuring that the person that is claiming who it is the one that it is claiming to be. And the second one was access control. Access control tries to control the access to a resource as to who can access that resource, to what limit that access is allowed. That is called access control. The third one was data confidentiality. We were protecting the data, right? And even there we had discussed specific services, which were connection confidentiality, connection less confidentiality, selective field confidentiality, and traffic flow confidentiality. And the fourth one was data integrity, where we ensured that the data that was generated was received exactly as it was generated. And the fourth one, last one was, fifth one was non-repudiation, that was protection against the denial by one of the party in the communication, right? So these are the security services. We've also gone through various security attacks. The security attacks were of two types: passive attacks and active attacks. Passive were not involved in any kind of modification, whereas active attacks were involved in modification. Passive were difficult to be detected, but active attacks, since they modify data, they are easily detected. So all of these topics are now being covered sufficiently. And thank you, class. Thank you for attending the lectures, and stay tuned to more lectures to understand the entire concept of network security and cryptography.